That's it, folks. The end of the podcast. No walkers have been harmed in the recording of this podcast. And, of course, at the moment, we have no sponsors or supporters at this point to fund all this amazing podcasting. But if you're out there and have a race walk company that produces some sort of race walk apparel product or something you think race walkers would love, get hold of us. We'd love to have you on board. Give us a holler. Hi, you've reached the Talking Race Walking podcast. It's all about race walking, of course. It's talking to race walkers from around the world about race walking. Join me, Noel Payne, an amateur race walker in Canada, as I talk to elites, Olympians, record holders, masters walkers, and anybody who's out walking as fast as they can. Hi, so this is a section where I'd actually be talking to someone, a race walker. So this is where you can come in. If you know a race walker, you're a race walker, and you have an amazing story, I want to hear from you. So reach out, let's chat, let's get walking and talking. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Talking Race Walking. And it's all about race walking, but I've also branched out to talk to people who walk, whether they're walking competitively or walking for a reason. And this podcast is talking to someone who has a reason to walk. I am talking to Canadian walker and mental health advocate, Greg McPherson, who is actually walking right now as we're doing this podcast. Greg, welcome on board.
Thanks.
So tell me where you are right now.
Sorry there. Did I lose you?
No, I'm here. So where are you right now?
Okay. Right now, I'm going through Port Credit. I left from Oakville this morning. You can hear the street is rather busy right now. I'm working my way to Toronto today.
Excellent. So for folks, Greg is on foot right now for a very important reason. He's raising awareness about mental health, which is also very important to me. In Canada, he's in the province of Ontario right now. He's walking from Niagara Falls, which people will probably know, even if they're not from Canada, the big, huge falls everybody goes to see. And he's walking from there to the capital of Canada, Ottawa. And I think that's approximately 600 kilometers, Greg. Is that right?
That's right. 600 kilometers. I'm assuming I'll do about 900,000 steps by the end of this walk.
Wow. And how many kilometers are you putting in every day?
The first day I did about 51 kilometers. Yesterday I did about 48. I'm probably around 46 tomorrow. So I'm basically walking a marathon every day.
Okay, and to put that into perspective, folks, because I know most of us are race walkers who are probably listening to that, and it takes long enough to race walk, say, 40 to 50 kilometers. Greg is not hammering away, so he's in for some super long days. So he's at regular walking pace. So that's a lot of time on feet, and that's a lot of steps. So, Greg, why don't you tell me and the audience about the reason you're doing this 600 kilometer walk?
Well, in 2019, January 6th, 2019, I lost my oldest boy to mental health and addictions. He was poisoned by a toxic drug supply. He had a hard time getting into the adult system after leaving the youth system to get the help that he needed. So he started self-medicating to deal with his anxiety and depression. Of course, as a parent losing a child, you're first in shock, even though you saw things and you knew the possibilities, and you would, you're in shock, and then you get into the reality of a life without that child around. And so there's no healing from losing a child. So it's what you do to keep moving forward. And I have 3 other beautiful children and I have to be there for them. I have a wife of over 31 years. I have to be there for her. I'm also a martial arts instructor. I have to be there for the children that I teach. So I have a lot that I have to keep doing. And so when COVID came, I had to find something because I wasn't in a good space mentally. So I had my wife drop me off in the east side of Ottawa. And if for people that don't know Ottawa, it's it's one of the largest cities in Canada. It's just spread out. So I walked for 44 kilometers that very first, or sorry, 27 that very first day. Um, I had my wife drop me off. I just said I need to walk, and so the walking gave me time to be alone with my thoughts. It gave me time to look around and try to find the good in the world, and that's what I did. And that was April 6th, 2020. So I duplicated that walk in 21. It's April 6th again to see the difference, see what happened, how things have changed with the lockdowns being eased up. And I found it healing. And so we ended up turning it into a fundraiser in 2022. And one of my boys asked if he could walk the distance with me.
That's amazing.
And so that's what we did. We turned it into a fundraiser in 2022. We walked 44 kilometers across the city of Ottawa from conception to execution. We ended up raising $16,000 for Youth Service Bureau, which equated to 240 hours of counseling.
Wow. Well, I'm in the East End. I'm in the East End, Ottawa. So I definitely, I know the area, and I also can relate to how movement, whether it's walking or running, it's something that allows you to kind of get away from things, but also to get in touch with your thoughts and everything else and work things out. And I think the physical activity as well makes you feel good at the same time. It's getting out for me, it was getting out with my thoughts, getting active, which makes me feel good, working through things. And for you, it's same thing for me. Sometimes it was raising awareness through movement. So I love what you're doing. How much support have you gotten so far for the walk?
Well, I've starting on Saturday night, May 18th, so just a few days ago, we had Niagara Falls lit up green for mental health and purple for overdose awareness. I actually had youth students actually from the martial arts club in Ottawa that I work at down in Niagara Falls that came down to see me off.
Wow.
We also had Canadian Olympian boxer, four-time boxer on the Team Canada. Councillor Mike Strange was there.
Oh, cool.
And he was also Commonwealth gold medal winner. And he started a charity called Box Run, raising money for child cancer. So he's no stranger to these long distance walks or runs. He's run from Thunder Bay to Victoria. Last year, he and fellow councillor Victor Pietrangelo, they ran 1,000 kilometers, I think, in 31 days down the Bruce Trail. So it was an awesome send off. And so I've been meeting people on the way. I just met a stranger who had the sign on my back and came and talked to me, and he was dealing with mental health issues. And had a great talk. He sat on his bike and rode next to me for a while. I'm just getting some fantastic feedback. But even with that, you always wish there'd be more, because there are a lot of people who are behind closed doors suffering. And I hope that they can understand that, mental health and addictions are not something you choose. They're a disease, and they need to be dealt with.
No, I agree. I think my reason I reached out to you as well to see if I can amplify your message and what you're doing and share it with folks. And I always found when I shared the struggles that I went through and shared my story, that I would sort of connect with people who I didn't know had similar experiences, but they weren't sharing it publicly. There's so many people that struggle with mental health. and don't talk about it, or don't know where to go, or don't know who to talk to. So I think those of us that are able to go publicly and talk about the struggles or our stories can really help people who don't or can't. So I really have a appreciation for what you're doing.
Yeah, and um, we witness what we see being in Ottawa, downtown Ottawa. Most towns, most cities have an area that it looks almost like a war zone now, and we have the Byward Market in Ottawa. And you know, these people are somebody's child, they're
Yep.
somebody's brother, somebody's friend, and we're only seeing the rough exterior. And people, equate homelessness with criminality almost because they're scared of them. Where is a criminal element that are probably there, but a lot of them have just fallen on hard times. And since the services are downtown, that's where they end up congregating. And since they congregate there, more services end up there, and there's a cycle. But these are your neighbors, whether you're in the west end of Ottawa, south end of Ottawa, east end, it doesn't matter. These are your neighbors. They just moved downtown to be where the services are.
With your son, I mean, you can share what you want and hold back what you want, but was your son on the streets? Was he one of these people that people would pass and not know his story?
Well, he always had an apartment. When he didn't have an apartment, but he was home. And there were many times where he would be at his apartment. My wife and I would constantly do wellness checks. We'd call and we'd go down, bring him food. Uh, you know, there were days that I finished at the club at 9 o'clock at night. I'd get home and my wife was distraught because she wasn't able to get through to him. And so I'd drive downtown, and there were times when I broke into his house, broke into his apartment, just to lay eyes on him.
Yep.
And so there were years of the torments and the fears of that call. And when we did lose him, a lot of our friends were in shock. They were in complete shock because they said they had no idea what was going on, and what they didn't realize is that we were living in a nightmare. And so that half hour we spent with our friends was a time to actually feel normal, just that half hour to de-stress. It's kind of like walking. You get away from things, you do talk about them, you think about them, but it's a good time you need those escapes in life. And this is my escape by walking. But obviously now I'm trying to use my escape to help others understand.
Yeah, no, completely. I agree. I think people who are struggling right now, or if even if it's background or mental health stress and just in general, I think walking and getting active or even outside for a few minutes, it's not going to solve your problems, but it certainly helps. So when everything hit and you started walking, is walking something you do every day now, or is it something every once in a while when you need it?
Leading up to this, it's every day. So that first year that I did the 44-kilometer, I did it with no preparation whatsoever. And the next day I had to drive down to Niagara Falls to be with my dad, and my whole body seized up. So the following year, so last year, 2023, I came up with an idea. I wanted to include every ward in the city of Ottawa. And going back to the fact that Ottawa is one of the largest cities in area, I had to figure a way to include every ward in my walk. So I had come up with the shortest distance to touch on every ward in the city, and that was 100 kilometers. So last year on June 1st and 2nd, or June 2nd and 3rd, I walked 100 kilometers in 24 hours. I started at noon on Friday and ended up at Ottawa City Hall the next day. And other than the blisters, I actually I had no joint pain, no muscular fatigue. My wife is a nutritionist, and she had provided my diet, and I stuck to it, and it paid off.
Well,
So
that's a big shout out for walking too. And this podcast is for race walking, but we always emphasize the fact that it's lower impact than running. I'm a runner as well, but I will tell
yeah,
you the difference between running and walking is quite different. I've walked 100 kilometers as well, and you're tired and you might feel a little bit sore, but nowhere near as sore as if you'd run 100 kilometers. So it is really amazing what you can get out and do and not beat yourself up quite as much.
Yeah. Well, I forgot, I'm on day 3 right now, and I'm feeling my feet. I'm learning little things about the equipment that I carry, the shoes and socks that I choose.
Yep.
My wife, I've got my wife and daughter tag teaming on the road. So my daughter's at her friends in Burlington right now, and tonight she'll meet me at the hotel in Toronto, and they make sure they have the shopping for me for my food for the next day and everything. Um, Today, my wife was just left back for Ottawa, but on her way, she got me new socks because I had blister-free socks, and
Yep.
they lied.
Yeah, I've been a runner for God knows over 35 years, and I'll tell you that anything that says blister free, they work for some people, they don't work for everybody. Sometimes there's the extra thin, the extra thick. Yeah, I don't think there's 100% guarantee for anything.
Well, last year, the 100 kilometers that I walked, 23 years of doing martial arts, my feet aren't beautiful in the first place. And I had major calluses on the bottom of my feet. So at the end, there's one point, I think I was 17 kilometers from the end, and it felt like somebody stabbed me in the bottom of the foot. So I got my shoe off and I looked, expecting to see blood. No, it was just a massive blister that
Oh,
rebuilt that 23 years of callus, and I had to rebuild them for martial arts again. But
yep.
you know, and the only other thing is that the my wife just ran to get me some other socks, some merino wool socks um, that are above the ankle, because I was wearing the shorter socks, and the top of the socks have been rubbing against my ankles
Yep.
and rubbing them raw. So I've gone a bit higher than that. They're actually feeling quite good right now. So lesson learned.
Yeah, no, you're getting into my experience with, I mean, race walkers and walkers go long, but also I've done ultra marathons, and it's funny how something that works for 10 kilometers, you go for more than that, and all of a sudden that little thing that's rubbing a little bit turns into a blister or a bloody ankle. Even that backpack you're wearing, I've done 100 kilometers, 200 kilometers, and there's a difference between a little sort of, annoying for a couple hours, but if you've got something that's annoying or rubbing into your shoulder for 8 hours, that's a big difference.
Oh, exactly. I rarely carry much while I'm walking, but obviously for this I do. I've got an extra pair of shoes in my backpack. I've got
Yep.
my rain jacket. I've got a bit of a warmer jacket just in case I start feeling cold. I mean, right now I've got a beautiful day. This is the third beautiful day in a row. Um, I wouldn't mind a bit of light rain, just nice. But I do have everything just in case, and I got this year Bush Tucker helped me out with my shoes.
Bush Tucker, yeah, great Ottawa company and
Oh,
multi-sport place. Yeah, great.
yeah, and the advice that I got from them was just, and they were so behind it. When I walked in there months ago with my posters in Canada or Stittsville, I always forget where the line is between Canada and Stittsville, Ottawa West.
Yeah.
Uh, they put the posters right away, taped it to their counters right at the cash, and to me that's a huge help. So I went in there and I explained last year I was wearing the Brooks Glycerin,
Yep.
and as comfortable as they were, that I ended up with the blister in the balls of my foot. So I was wondering if um, the issue was that the shoes were too large, but I went in and apparently they were the right size, but the rise was just a bit too high
Yep.
for what I was doing. So this year I'm wearing the Brooks Ghost Max,
Yep.
and so far so good.
Yeah, no, it's the same for competitive walking, say race walking. It's your footwear depends on your foot. It depends on what pace you're walking at, everything. It can, some people it can be the extra cushion, the big thick ones, or other people need something that's more minimal. Or the thickness or softness of the cushion. Yeah, so it's very individual.
I should have contacted you before. I wish I knew what you then could have helped me with that, some of this trial and error. But I've lived through it, and here I am, day 3. I end up downtown Toronto today, and tomorrow I have a meetup with the Associate Minister of Addictions and Mental Health and Addictions in Toronto at Queen's Park. Then I've got a mental health event happening in Ajax the day before, or sorry, the day after I leave Toronto. You know, they're getting me through. And I think I'm glad that I did the 100 kilometer in 24 hours last year, because it gave me a lot more knowledge. Because I've never done multiple days like this.
Yep.
So I just don't have the time.
No, I hear you. Yeah, the best advice I would give you is switch things up if you can. Your support crew, if you had another pair of sneakers, even if it's the same model and the same brand, switch them up. So when you get a point, throw the other ones on. Clean socks. And there's even stuff like I've got stuff for not socks for blisters, but there's a 1 second. My favorite thing, just to give a shout out, it's called Sports Shield. So whether you use it now or later, Sports Shield, it's like a rub-on, non-greasy anti-blister stuff. I even put it on my feet for ultras and stuff like that. So
really,
yeah. It just any
So
friction point, it helps out. Yeah, any friction point. But I'm hoping you don't get too many hot spots. That's the worst, because it can make walking a whole bunch uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, I've got I do have my second skin. It's blisters. I ended up with one small blister, but it's doing fine right now. But if it gets any worse, I'll throw a little pad over that. It's, I've done as much research as I can, had as much advice as I could find, and so far so good. It's just getting through those brick walls that you hit once in a while, and then I just remember why I'm doing it. And, thinking
completely.
That,
well, I think that's it. There's the physical fitness, then there's the mental part. So we'll go to the physical part first, and then we'll talk about the mental health. So
sure.
How are you managing to keep up this much walking day after day? What are you finding is getting you through?
Well, my wife has provided me with wraps with high carb, and so I think we're on a 3-to-1 or 4-to-1 carb to protein.
Nice.
I've got electrolyte packs to throw in my water every once in a while. I've got coconut water in my my backpack. Lots of water. I've got nuts, just like a handful of trail mix every once in a while. And I've got protein bars. I found that my favorite protein bar, again, here we are, this is becoming a whole commercial venture here, sponsored to you, sponsored by, I'm a I think it's NutriBar feed.
Nice.
Yeah, they're high protein and not chalky. So I ended up getting a couple of boxes. So I've got a couple of those. And I'm just having small meals throughout the day. I'm not actually overdoing it. Just a couple of sips of water. And physical, stretch when I get back to the hotel. I tried to do a cold plunge after the first day, and I hate cold. I really hate cold. So I got my feet in, and I couldn't get any further. I had to turn the hot water on.
Well, it sounds like you're doing everything basically right. Sounds like you're fueling properly. You got good footwear. You're going. And what do you do with your mind while you're out walking for hours?
Well, I start looking at things and start noticing weird, strange things. I try to look at the flowers that in the Niagara region that we don't get in the Ottawa area. I get to see them close up. I get to see how some people live. It's way out of my price range on somebody's mailbox is more ornate than any house that I've ever seen. It's a whole different world, but there's a lot to see as I walk, and I look forward to. I try to concentrate on the journey and not the destination. I've always been someone who likes to go for driving trips because there's so much in between. Obviously, the fly in there is good if you only have so much time, but there's so much that gets passed over, and so even driving, you miss a lot because you're going too fast to look at everything. So I have that opportunity. I'm enjoying the journey, and the destination will come when I get there.
Yep, no, completely. So I want to let you get back to your walking. I don't want to sort of have you holding up a camera too long or tiring that arm out, but tell people when you plan to arrive in Ottawa and how could they connect with you when you arrive there?
Well, I will be arriving in the west end of Ottawa, in Stittsville, at 12 Cedar Report, Hooligan Martial Arts. That's where I'm the manager and instructor. So that will be on Friday, May 31st.
Okay.
Time is, I think it's 3:30. You'd have to take a look at the website, which is OTR, which stands for On the Road. So OTR, the number 4, mentalhealth.com. I have my full route there. I've got a tracker on there. You can see exactly where I am. You'll be able to keep me honest, see that tracker doesn't move too fast. That's definitely going faster than 5 kilometers per hour. But it's got all the information. I am also raising funds for Youth Services Bureau again. There's a donation button for OTR for mental health to help with the expenses. But there's also a button there to donate to Youth Services Bureau in Ottawa. Anybody listening outside of the Ottawa area, I suggest finding a local mental health or addictions organization. If you want to give to an organization, keep the money in your neighborhood. Donate to them and put down OTR for mental health. Inspired you to give. That way we can measure impact as well. But on June 1st is the final day. June 1st. From the Falls. Yeah, June 1st, June 1st, we will be in Ottawa doing the final 27 kilometers from Stittsville to Majors Hill Park. And all the information and events is on the website.
Excellent. And that is a Saturday. So the 31st in Stittsville will be, I do believe, a Friday. And then that final walk to Parliament Hill, capital of Canada, will be on June 1st. Is that right?
That's right. That's right.
Perfect. And I will make sure, folks, to put all this information in the podcast. So you'll have the link, the website, and I'll be sharing stuff on my social media channels as well to get the word out about this. So, Greg, it's been really fun chatting with you. Good to connect to somebody else who thinks physical activity and mental health are both important things. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's been great talking to you.
You as well. Happy walking, my friend, and hopefully I can connect with you as you hit Ottawa.
All right.
All right. Take care.
You too.